Hello, everybody. Wow, this video is now a month and 6 days after the last session report that I did for the Grognards. There are dozens of you that watch these, so I appreciate that. And as I said, this is more for me to record what's going on in this campaign, so maybe I can try to remember it when I got 7 marbles rolling around in my head and I've been shipped off to some home somewhere. But regardless to all of that, thank you very much for clicking on this video. Since I have a couple of sessions I have to put together to tell the story of where we are at right now, this is going to be a little fuzzy as far as exactly what happened. It won't be as much detail as possible. Also in this video, I will be talking because I was like at Origins, working as if you're watching this video, you probably know that I work in the tabletop industry, and I want to talk about that. I want to do a video about my trip to Origins. Not only did I work, I got to talk to a lot of people. I got to talk to a lot of people in the RPG world. Have some really good conversations, with the people over at Chaosium, with Northwind Adventures. Just to name a couple. And then talk about that in general. And also, the young ones, my son's group, finally played again. And I have a follow-up for the Mithril Mines that I want to talk about. But I want to do this one because, like I said, it's going to cover a lot of depth, a lot of breadth. And we are playing again tomorrow night. So we need to do this so I can get caught up and have a video that is just going to be on a couple of sessions instead of 3. So the last time I did this video, they were in the Tower of History and High Sorcery on that sinking island, and they needed to find the 3 keys that would get them into the Master's chambers. They were talking to this green demon with 1 red eye. That told them that he could give them a concoction that would allow them to destroy the evil plant creature that had they had a big battle with that, with its zombies that it's made, not zombies per se, but just basically plant fungus things, and also a bunch of bugs and stuff. And they said, and because he said one of the keys is actually inside the body of that plant creature. So they came up with a deal where they they agreed to retrieve that key, and he would give them a potion, he said, that would kill the plant creature if they could throw it inside it. And they also, he said that once they get into that thing, he said there are 4 treasures of great value, and he just wants, there's this diadem, this gem that he wants, and as long as they give you that, he said they can have the other treasures, and he would consider the matter closed. So they went, and this is a very quick sum up of the battle, but they managed to throw the potion into the plant creature. They fought a bunch of bugs, fought a bunch of those zombie things. The plant creature shriveled up and died. They retrieved the key out of it. They also retrieved this large seed pod that they found very interesting. It was hard as steel, and there was this large seed pod. And the alchemist, there's this sorcerer that's an alchemist run by my friend Brad, was very interested in that. They argued a bit as to whether or not they should bring it or not. They said they should leave it, but he said, I'm going to take it. It's about the size of a football, American football, if you are not familiar. Not a soccer ball, as I'm horrible because I'm a U.S. person and I have soccer and football, but regardless, it was about the size of American football, and he took it with him, which Anyway, uh, so they left. They because he had. Oh, I should have mentioned that he had one key as well. The demon, and he said he would give him one of the keys. And then he directed them that they had to go into another area. And he said he didn't have anything that could help them fight the monster that was in there, but he did give them some potions of healing that would help them. And that was, again, this is a really quick summation. I apologize for it, but it was a battle with some cold-based undead that did cold damage. Just like basically immaterial specters that instead of draining life essence, they drained attributes. Just something I came up with myself. Life drain is one of those things that a lot of people handle it differently. I want to do a video on life drain, which has been done over and over and over again, but I wanted to give my thoughts on that. And that's something I put a pin in. That it's one of those. It's one of those mechanisms that's been part of D&D for a really long time. That, I mean, truth be told, very few people actually ever played it the way it was supposed to be played, and I find that fascinating. But regardless, taking a step back, they went into that room. They fought those like frost or cold-based enemies, and they were successful. They got the other key. And so now they had the 3 keys. I kind of forgot to mention this because they're on this island that is going to sink at any time. But there's this belief that it's going to sink at any time. I started giving them hints that there were like earthquakes and rumblings and things like that. And so they're beginning to believe that, oh my gosh, this island's going to sink sometime soon. So they need to hurry. And also they weren't sure that they could actually escape the area. So they went to. They were super worried. They're like, what are we going to run into? What are we going to fight? They put the keys into the door. The door opened up, and all in the Grandmaster's chambers were basically these 4 pedestals that had 4 different items on top of them. They had one that was this large gem, which they recognized immediately, obviously. There was one with this large book. There was another that had this eerie-looking like sickle, like a weapon or a farm tool that had a strange black blade that had like pinpoints of light, like stars on it, that were like, you could see they were kind of moving and shimmering. And there was this, we always laugh, rods, staves, and wands, remember, like, and so whenever you say rod, everybody giggles, because we're all children. But there was this, this obviously of elven design, silver rod that was at on a pedestal. And so they took the items after much discussion internally, because one of the characters is a Templar, which is a paladin in my world, and he had been negotiating with this demonic creature. And there's also a bishop, which is known as an inquisitor, which in my world, bishops again are based kind of on the old wizardry class. It's something we created ourselves. We've been playing with it since because we played a lot of wizardry. We thought bishops are cool. We should have bishops in our game, and we made a class back when we were in high school, many years ago, and they still exist to this day. But anyway, there's a bishop that's an inquisitor that has been admonishing the Templar for his dealings, but he said, I gave my word that I would do it. And he said, you gave your word to this evil being. You don't need to keep your word. But he said, if I don't keep my word to evil, then, so there was this big, huge internal discussion. They did go back to the demon. They lots of rumbling, earthquakes, or whatever. They gave him the gem, and they were. He said, thank you very much. I appreciate you kept your side of the bargain until we meet again. And he took the gem and he did something with it, and it activated, and he vanished. He just disappeared. And like he had these minions, these like weird yellowish fungus like blobby creatures, and they just blah, 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 just became nothing. They, when he vanished, which, they allowed this basically was a prison, and they helped that demon escape, which as a dungeon master. So now it's just like things like that. I love things like that where it helps me create stories that bring characters back to decisions they made that have long-reaching actions and what have you. So, fading all the way back, they get out. They run to their ship. They see everybody's trying to escape the island now because it's going to collapse at any moment. They race down the dock. They see that at the dock there's just battles and bloodshed all over the place. Things are like, just chaos. They see that there's like basically there's one skiff left, and there are like 5 toughs like standing there, and they're like, 100 gold pieces, and you can get on the last skiff. The skiff can hold like 10 people or whatever, and they can get off the island. Otherwise, you're gonna have to swim for it, which, who knows if you survive. There's monsters, sea monsters and whatever. So sharks, evil things. So they got to the end, and they were like 100 gold each or 200 gold each or whatever, and instead they were like, no, we don't think so, and they just killed them. They just killed the thugs they were holding, stopping people from they actually like killed all of them except for one, and then the druid in the party basically said, look, you can either join us or you can or we can kill you too. I mean, it was like, because they were like little low level, first level, people with 5-6 hit points. They were just, like the last tough guys that were there, and they just made short work of him. And he said, yep, sure, I'll join. And he's like, I'll even row. And he said, get in. And he's like, so they row out to the ship. They get on it. They can see that the ship is actually like knocking people away, trying to climb aboard. They arrive, and they can see there's like this, and so when they actually rowed out, they saw that there's like this kind of weird pitched battle going on, and they said, well, and they could see that there were multiple like skiffs that were like trying to climb aboard their ship, and with people, and so they signaled to Captain Dax Walters, their brave reformed pirate captain, to just, it's like, we're gonna row out to there, you just set sail and like just leave those people that are trying to board, just leave them behind and just go. And so they set their sails, slowly but surely it picks up speed and it starts pulling away from these people trying to go. They knocked the last of them off. They sailed off, and they basically had to kind of turn around, but they met up with the party. The party got on the board. Everything's good, and they escaped. They watch as the island crumbles behind them. They manage to escape with their lives, and they're good. They take that boat all the way back to the city of their home city, Solus, Solis, not Soulles, and they can see that one of the giant dwarf boats, the dreadnoughts that they pilot, is in the harbor, and they were like, oh, that's interesting. They didn't really think much of it. They came into town. They were like, well, we need to. And they also wanted to inspect a few of the things. So they found that that rod basically worked. The rod worked as like a mace, but it was extremely heavy. And somebody who was strong enough to wield it and swing it would be able to do a lot of damage with it. So the Templar took that, and the Druid took the sickle because he found that. Oh, and I forgot that. I apologize. There was another item too. There was a glove that had like claws in the hand, in the fingers, and like a Freddy Krueger glove kind of, but not claws that come out of the back. Like the fingertips had like claws that were razor sharp. Uh, and so along with that book, and then when they tried to read the book, they couldn't read it. And but inside the book, they found this hand mirror that was just put inside the book, and they saw that it had been broken, the hand mirror, and like there was only one shard of the mirror still in there, and they could tell that it was when one person tried to look at it, they couldn't tell. It didn't reflect what they saw, and instead they saw this one, like evil-looking eye looking back at them. So they didn't like that. They put it back into the book, closed it, and they moved on with their life. And so they got back to town. They wanted to go check in with their magistrate, which is the person that kind of gives them their jobs, if you will, by order of the church. And they went back into town, and just in time to see that their magistrate, along with several other people as part of the church, were being drawn and quartered for having disbelief in the God King, which is like the monotheistic ruler of what they believe in. And each person was allowed the chance to ask for redemption and forgiveness, so that they could be absorbed. This belief that their soul would be absorbed by the God King, and then they would be then their essence would then be used to help the God King empower himself and continue controlling more and more of these islands in this shattered world. And they asked everyone, but their magistrate would not. He would not beg for forgiveness, and he screamed that right before he died, he screamed that the God King was a usurper and a traitor, and so on and so forth, and he was ripped apart. And everybody was like, "Ooh," because the magistrate they had before this one was also executed for being a traitor. And so, as they're watching this, the head of the Inquisitors, this very kind and soft-spoken gentleman known only as Father Aaron, found that group, and he led them. He's like, "We should have a talk," and he led them away to the Inquisitors' home, basically their main house, to be questioned as to what was going on. And that was how that session ended. Told the players they're going to have to pick another one of their characters. Everybody makes 3 characters in this campaign. They can play whichever one they want. I told them to make sure that they have a like which one they want to play, because those characters are going to be just busy for a while. And so that was kind of nice. Everybody was excited to play a new character, and they were worried about their original ones. There was some, like, we had to discuss whether or not they had any of the items that they had brought with them to the square when they saw the executions happening. And so we were trying to determine if they had those items with them when they went into the House of Inquisition, and discussed that, figured out which ones were which and what have you. So, but the next session, basically, there was at the very beginning of the campaign, there was a suggestion that there was another like outcropping or another outpost on the other side of the island that people had seen people living there, and they didn't know who they were. And that was something that they were interested in doing, but they did not doing. But they got on the boat, and the B team, as the players called it, or in some cases the C team. There was one character, this sorcerer, that my friend Jason made, like, had never been played, and we've been playing a few months now, and we made jokes that, like, he's finally let out of the basement of the ship. You can see the sun for the first time. But anyway. They get on board the ship, and they travel, and they head to the other side of the island, and they determined that, like, they think it would be better if they just kind of took one of their dinghies and headed over there instead of, like, showing up with this giant ship. And they pulled up, and yeah, there's people living there, and they seem a little surprised to see other people, but they are welcoming. They offer food and drink. Um, they they're asked, well, where did you come from? And they just said that life in Solus had not been something that they enjoyed, and they wanted to, uh, just go out on their own and do their own thing. And and while the players were very understanding, they said, well, you should really come back and be part of Solus. We can protect you. The God can protect you and stuff like that. And they said, and they said, we really just don't believe in the God King. And the entire peer, like, what? Like, how could you not? And so there was a fun little role playing aspect where they were having this discussion, and they said, well, it's just like we just kind of feel like, we don't want to like have to worship, any, somebody, it's just like we just want to like live in our little, we made a little small fishing village here. We just want to live our lives in peace, and we want to be left alone. And and then they kind of asked more questions, and he said, well, come and talk to Rose, this woman that is our village elder. And I'm like, they said, we don't really, so talk to her. And so they woman in her 60s or so, just had this conversation with them, and just kind of like, said it's like this is why they want to live like a very simple life. They want to lead a very non-theist life, and just want to be left alone. And then as the dungeon master, like, I knew that she has this ability with oratory to basically implant a suggestion into people, just like the spell. And so she's talking to everybody, and there's my friend Brad has a monk character, and he's the only one that failed to save. And so he was like, yeah, you're right. Why do we have this silly God King thing, like dictating what we do? He's like, I need to go back to Solus and let people know exactly what I think. And everybody's like, oh, what's going on with you? And so they convince him that they're supposed to. So they find out that the reason why they're here, but why they're thinking about moving, is the fact that there is a very strange temple in the jungle where there's some really weird people that are worshiping some alternate god to the God King, which of course can't do that. And they said, maybe if you went and took care of those people, because we feel like they are a threat to us. If you went and took care of them, maybe we would see the error of our ways, and we could think that maybe there was something to this God King thing. And so they agreed that they would go investigate that. And again, this is speeding things up a little bit. This is a very big role-playing session. A lot of things discussing, not a lot of action. They head into the jungle, and they end up near a very swampy area, and they provide them with a raft that they can use to push themselves out into this area, this swampy area. And it's more like an Everglades kind of thing, where it's like the water is fairly fresh, and whereas it's also a lot cooler, for whatever reason, because remember, in this world, it's very hot, very humid all the time, and it's a little bit cooler here. And they said that there's this old ruined monastery where these people have set up. Along the way, they had some battles with some giant frogs that tried to upset the raft and knock them in the water and try to kill them, but they fought those off. They found a very evil-looking, ritualistic place with these standing stones that they could see there was like some profane maybe sacrifices that were done there. They saw some blood, but of course they can't tell what kind of blood it is. but there was a large like altar brazier that was there. They destroyed that, which actually was a very good idea, because that will actually have effects on this cult that they're going to have. It'll actually weaken them, so they made a really good choice there. I gave them a big bonus of experience points for doing that. But eventually they made it to this old ruined monastery that's in this swamp. And that was, like I said, we played a good 6 hour session and like 4 hours of role play of everybody like trying to discuss things and trying to figure things out. The internal discussions as to what they should do next, kind of things. And then when they got to that village, it was like, I mean, it was a good hour and a half of all the players, like, having discussions with the villages, having these religious discussions with them. Really, really fun stuff. Really, really fun stuff. Not a lot of dice rolling happened during that session, but it definitely set some really good ground base work. Like, everybody's waiting because one of the people said in a few days, they said they pointed to the monk, he's gonna snap out of it, and when he does, he's gonna be really, really angry. So make sure you watch it, just like that kind of thing. So everybody's waiting for that moment for the monk to snap, because like the monk's gonna want to go back and probably kill everybody in that village. But they made it to the monastery. It was super late. We had been playing for 6 hours. We ended the session there, and that's what we're gonna pick up. I'm excited to do that. They're gonna go in there. There's lots of beasties and crawlies and ghoulies that are waiting for them inside that monastery, and it should be a lot of fun for them to dig around in that, and also the dungeons that are underneath it. And it should be a good old investigation / dungeon crawl coming up with the next session, which I'll be happy to talk about in the next video of these. So, like I said, I get about a dozen. I get dozens of you that watch this. I really, really appreciate that you do. If you have any comments or whatever, please post those. I love responding to those. If you have any guesses as to what may be in the monastery, I'd love to hear those as well. And again, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this. I know it's a lot of time out of your plate. I mean, you're probably watching this maybe you're just listening to it in your ears while you work or whatever, which I appreciate as well. But just take care of yourself. I've got several more videos I want to record. Summer's just tough. It is, I've been trying to, I try to do these when nobody else is awake, or at least when they're busy doing other things, so I can record these things in relative silence, and present to you what's going on and what's going on with me. But like I said, I got to do the thing for the kids session, the young one session report. I got to do the thing for, the origins experiences. I got an RPG that I want to talk about that I found that I think is really, really cool, and just some other random things, some of the random videos that I want to do. If there's something you would think I want to cover or you'd like me to cover, maybe an RPG or anything that to review or give my thoughts on or whatever, let me know. Give me a comment, give me a suggestion. If it's something I think that I can say something intelligently about, I will do so. As always, take care of yourself, be good, and until next time.